here's what happened. The holidays are coming up soon, and I'm thinking, okay, what is going to be really helpful for you right now? Something practical, easy to implement. And I was brainstorming ideas with Adriana, my life partner, and I felt like I was making this way too complicated and ridiculous and overwhelming. And it was a reminder for me where I had this like light bulb moment. I'm like, keep it simple. Like bring it back to being super simple for you. And that's where these quick body movements came up for an idea. And I want to go through 5 of them that I believe are going to be really helpful for you to release that stress being around family, because being around family during the holidays can cause stress to come up. And especially post holidays, what happens, there's a few things that happen. One is in the moment, you then decide to throw out the better habits that you've been working on, and that momentum and that progress you've made towards making burnout extinct. All of a sudden, it can feel like you're going backwards back to like the starting point. And I don't want that for you. Absolutely not. And then the other thing could be the post holiday recovery that happens, where it can last a few weeks or even months, where you get off track and you feel like you're never able to catch back up to the progress you've made and the momentum you've made. And I don't want that either for you. So I'm going to go through 5 quick body movements, super simple, to help you out with releasing that stress around family. This is Make Burnout Extinct. I'm Robert David Weeks. Before getting into it, I want to say thank you for listening. I do not take it for granted. And my commitment to you by you listening, and then if you haven't done it yet, by subscribing and following the show for the latest episodes, is to make this the best show it can be. And I know that could sound cheesy and like, oh, you're going to make this the best show it can be, but that is my commitment to you. And then also it's to become a better storyteller for you, a better researcher for the information that I'm sharing or that I'm gathering and being able to share with you, a better interview for the questions I'm asking the guests that are coming on and sharing their insights. And it's all focused on this mission of Make Burnout Extinct, because I do not take it for granted for you taking time out of your day with all the things that are coming up, especially with the holidays coming up here soon, to listen to this. I don't. And so I'm fired up to be able to get into it with these 5 quick body movements to help you out with releasing that stress. So today, what I want to talk about is that challenge that you can face with being around family, where you can experience a lot of stressful moments that come up. And these stress moments that come up could be a result of a few different things. But the main one that could come up is changes that you've made on your journey towards making burnout extinct. And what can come up is that you can get questions from your family members, your aunts, your uncles, cousins, people that could be asking you questions because they're genuinely curious. They could be asking questions of trying to challenge you in your current habits that you're implemented in your life and the changes you've made. And they're trying to know if, okay, is this going to stick or is this just a phase? And there's a few reasons why that comes up. And a lot of the times it's just things that you cannot control and you don't have to control. One could be because of their own insecurities, right? Aunt Susan could be like, hey, why are you working out? Like, this is the time to just be vacation and hang out. Like, you don't need to do that strength training workout or that morning, go for that morning, hike or morning walk. And she may be like, hey, this is the time to relax. Well, if she's getting older, she may be concerned with her own health. And she may be realizing that she's actually not taking the time to go and do those exercises or those workouts. And she might be having a lot of fear building up for her. And so she puts that out and projects that out as a question to you of like, why are you doing this? You should just relax, because then you can be a part of the group where everyone else isn't doing that and feel like all of a sudden you can belong with them. So another one could be Uncle John saying, hey, like, why don't you come on over, like have some beers, and you may not drink anymore. And when that can come up, I think I relate that in my own journey of it's been now 6 years since I've drank alcohol. And for me, I remember I was in a fraternity in college, which a lot of the culture there for a lot of it was drinking. Also, I was a DJ in a past life for my first, like going into my first path in entrepreneurship was a DJ. And so I was part of the nightlife scene, partying a lot. And then all of a sudden I've chosen not to drink. And I'm going back to family that still drink. So, I could have an uncle be like, come on over, like have a drink, like really be like almost jokingly trying to be like, hey, why don't you just have a shot? Like just have one. It's all good. But all of a sudden I'm having to deal with that stress that can come up of like, no, I don't want to. So you may be in a similar situation too, where you may be getting those type of questions and those type of challenges. With these body movements, the focus for this and the goal of it is to just help you to move through the holidays, to stay on track, to continue to show up for those habits of working out, of choosing not to drink, and to not give in into this idea of like, oh, okay, like just for the holidays, I'll stop focusing on these better habits that actually help me make me feel better, help me to move towards making burnout extinct, actually makes me feel more energized. Like I don't want that for you. And I know there can be a real urge to like go and do that because you may be feeling like you want to belong with the group and feel accepted. But at the same time, you've made the change. Like you've done that commitment. You've made the decision. And so I want to give you the tools to keep honoring that commitment, because a way that you can create distrust within the body is by not honoring your commitments, choosing to do the opposite of what it is that you want. And then that becomes it becomes really difficult for you to notice the signals in your body that are telling you you're moving towards burnout. That might be one of those reasons why you focused on this journey of making burnout extinct. It's because you weren't able to listen to those signals your body were giving you. And so this is that reminder for you that you're absolutely capable of going into being around family and just focusing on your better habits, sticking with it for that momentum. And the way you're going to be able to do that is to release the stress out, because your body is like a balloon. It can fill up with the stress and that overwhelm and that anxiety, and you're going to experience that being around family. But when the balloon, just like a balloon, it gets to a certain point, it's going to pop if that air doesn't get released. And it's similar for you of like, you're going to hit burnout if you're not able to release that stress. So let me get into those 5 quick body movements for you. The first one that I want to share with you is a deep breath. And simple. Again, all these are going to be simple. You're going to think they're silly, but these work. I mean, that's what's so cool about them being so simple, is like they do work. It's just determining what is going to be the right one for you. And that's going to help you. So with a deep breath, it's literally just doing deep inhale and out. Right? There you go. And what I mean by, I want to go back to that, with all of them, they're all going to be able to help with releasing stress. It's just which one's going to be the right one to help you with the quickest release when you're in it, when you're in the moment, you have that stress building and you're going to react. Instead of reacting, trying to figure out a way to respond in a better situation. Because deep breathing could be really helpful for you when you're at the dinner table, right? You have the dinner table, arguments are starting to come up. Someone's opinion is, they're sharing an opinion, and they may be trying to question you about a change that you've made, and you get to decide because you're getting hit with the stress. And then what happens with the stress when the body experiences that is then cortisol and the adrenaline, those hormones get pumped into the body. And that's where you feel that alertness, and the body's like locked in and ready and focused, and you're heightened because you're perceiving this threat that's coming at you. So you get to then you're going to either react or you're going to be able to respond. And these are going to help you to respond better to the situation so that you are able to continue to move forward in who it is you want to become and the vision you have for your life, stepping into that version of you that you've already decided that you've wanted to step into, rather than going back to old patterns. So a deep breath at the dinner table is a helpful one to focus in on. And so again, deep inhale and release. What this one does is it helps for the nervous system to get it into a parasympathetic state, meaning it's that rest and relaxation. It can help lessen that stress or release that stress and move the body and the nervous system into that state, rather than the sympathetic state, which is the fight or flight, the freeze, the fawn response for the body. So it's super simple. I'm doing another one. Deep inhale and release. When you do that, notice how you feel. What are some differences? Do you notice a dramatic difference in how you're experiencing what you're experiencing right now for the body? Or is it slight and small? And that will just help you to notice which one's going to have the most powerful effect on you in different situations. And you can even start to visualize yourself being at the dinner table, having someone challenge your change that you've made. You can know that's what's so cool with the mind in this way, is using that visualization to actually start to feel that, so that you can start to train and practice. And then notice, take a deep breath in and release. And you can notice what difference comes up for you in that moment. And so for context, that's really important with all of these. The next one may be more difficult to do this at the kitchen table. Or I keep on saying kitchen table. I'm like, that might be because of like where I'm at right now. We're at the kitchen table is where we eat. So instead of this one may not be helpful for being at the table with family, and that is it's a vocal. So what's it called? It's like making vocal sounds. I like to think about this as like Chewbacca is the Chewbacca sound, because I do voice exercises, and one of them is called a it's called one of the so you have like the voice trills is one. So you can have the tongue trills, you can have the lip trills. This one's a tongue trill is like the term for it, but basically I call it Chewbacca voice, where you take a deep inhale and then you release out with this sound. Now that's a specific technique. And I like doing that. It helps to release stress for me. But you can literally do any type of vocal sound, right? You could just be like, inhale and then exhale with a sigh. It's a vibe. Or you can be like, you can think back to when you were a kid with the motorboat sound. Like that's where that's the lip trill. So it's like the but that is a way to release stress, and it can be fun. Like it brings me back to my back to when I was a kid and like just making weird, ridiculous sounds. I really connect to this one for voice, because for my go-to response, but in my past, was to freeze. Like that's how I would deal with stress. Is especially like with arguments, it was tough. If my parents were arguing, or if, like my family, it's a loud family. A lot of people have really strong opinions. And so for me, I just freeze. And what was difficult was I just felt like I wasn't being seen or being heard. And that caused a lot of pain for me. And it really caused me to have to navigate this and work through it. And that's probably why I was motivated, because of how much pain I felt to go into public speaking, to go into being a podcaster, to go into being able to focus on my voice and really being able to amplify it. And actually why I connect to this specific way of releasing stress, because I felt for so long I couldn't share my voice. And so for me, this one really helps, but it may not be helpful at that kitchen table. So what you can do is actually get out of the table, basically get up from the table, not out of the table. I'm like trying to think there. Like you get up from the table and you can go to a different room, or you can go to the bathroom. Could be a great spot. Or you go outside, maybe get a moment to go outside and just release it. Just take a deep inhale and then release. Let it out. Right. Or just be like, I think of like Jar Jar Banks in Star Wars is like another example too. But just like let it all out. And then you can go back. It is natural for you to do this. Yeah, some people may think you're weird, but guess what? It's natural. You're releasing the stress. And I will tell you, weird is cool. I think about that. So that's number 2. The third quick body movement that you could try out is being able to shake out your hands, or like this one is this could be helpful to do underneath the table at the dinner table. This could be helpful just to do when you're walking around inside the house, or even outside the house. But it's literally for video. You can see what I'm doing with my hands. It's just shaking it. For if you're just like to be able to listen to this, it's literally you have your hands and imagine like a dog like wagging their tail. You remember like a dog just like whenever they'd have a moment of being scared, like they kind of get a dude, what's the word I want to describe with this? It's not coming up to mind. It's just wiggle. It's like the wiggle. Let your hands wiggle around. Let them wiggle around. Just move them around, and that can be a way to release that stress, right? You can know because what was happening is when you have a buildup of like when you have that stress response, and then you're having the cortisol and the adrenaline pump in. I just imagine it's like an energy charge in the body is a great way to describe it. That's where you can feel pressure in the body. It's like this energy is growing. That's where you can notice tension in the body. And you kind of feel like this thing that you have to like get out. Like it's almost like a cloak you got to get off of you, or this just thing that you got to release somehow. And so by shaking, what you're doing is you're creating movement for the body. And so what this does is that it helps to literally then like, if that's, you can think about it for movement, you're literally moving. So therefore that's going to move energy. It's going to move energy through the body. And then going back to what it does for the bodies, it energizes the body, right? By creating movement, you're energizing the body by the mitochondria producing, using ATP, producing energy in the body. So it's like, also really helpful from that standpoint for feeling energized. And it shakes out that pressure. It's shaking the thing loose, that energy charge in your body and releasing it out. And it's a moment for each one of these to celebrate afterwards, right? Give yourself an acknowledgement for the body that you want more of this. And that could be literally a head nod. It could be raising a fist in the air. For me, I celebrate as if I scored a touchdown or a goal. Like literally I'd tap my shoulders and then raise my arms up and go like, yeah, like let's go. But that's not where I started, right? I started with this. But remembering to celebrate after you do these quick body movements, it tells the body that you want more of this. It's also another movement. So then it energizes the body and it's like, okay, it helps to reinforce that reminder that you want more of it. So that's one that you can do. You can make it like, again, you can kind of hide your hands too, like right in front of you. So you can have your back turned and you can do it that way to shake it out. And that can release the stress. So then you can respond to these different situations that are coming up. The next one I want to go into is like a game day warm up. It's like the jump up and down. So this one, I'm not going to do it. I'm sitting down right now, but it's like you're hopping. You can think about it as a hop for your feet. You're just hopping up and down. That can help you from your feet standpoint of moving the energy through the floor or into the floor. It's like you're grounding. You're basically able to push that energy down into the ground is how you think about it. And it's like that jumping up and down. I think about even as a kid, actually that comes up like that tantrum moment where you're just like, ah, and like you're jumping up and down like, no, I don't want to go to school today. Like, I don't want to do that. Like that, you can connect to that too for this jump up, but it is also like a game day warm up. I think about that right before a big game. And when I would be playing, soccer, like I would jump up and down a little bit, get that little bounce going. And that's moving that energy through that big charge, that pressure that you're feeling. And so that one is actually helpful if you're outside. That could be really helpful. You can even do that in conversation. You can just jump up and down. You might get like a cool question of like, hey, what are you doing? Like, I kind of want to do that. Or like other people might jump in and like join in on the jumping up and down, and you could start a trend. Like that'd be pretty cool for the family. But that is then another moment to celebrate once you do that, because you'll feel a release in the stress. And again, you can even visualize all these experiences that may potentially come up and prepare for it that way. And give yourself an understanding of which one creates the biggest change for you in releasing the stress. Now, the last one that I want to share with you is the rinse off. This one is really helpful if you're like me, where you would freeze. And with freeze, that for the responses, I want to go through it one more time. Freeze is as if you just are trying to hide, right? It's that feeling of you're in the wild. You have this lion coming at you, or I'm trying to think of any other animal, but like right now the lion coming in. And so you're just freezing and you're letting the lion pass by and you're trying to make sure you're not being noticed. And so for me, that's what I did a lot of times was freeze. I also was able to observe. So then I'm really good at observing. That's like a skill I took into being an adult. But with the rinse off, what it is you imagine like in the shower, when you're moving your hands, like at least I do, like my hands, I move them all around my body. So like I'm rubbing my arms. I have my arms across my chest and I'm rubbing them this way. I can even rub my chest, my stomach. I can move my hands down to my arm, my legs, and then I would say hamstrings, down, or my thighs down to then my calves, and then bring it all the way up. And that can release some stress. That one potentially could be helpful if if you want to do that on your legs as you're sitting at the table. You could also get up, go to the bathroom. You could do that quickly there for rubbing your arms. You could also do it outside, especially if it's cold out. You could even have that be like that excuse where, like, all right, it's cold outside, so I'm rubbing myself like to warm up. So that's the other way that you can think about it. What this is like you're warming up your body. And again, that's another way to move the energy. You're literally moving your hands on your arms or on your legs, and that moves that energy through for that pressure and that tension. And so it can release it. So then you can respond to the situation that you're experiencing. So those are the 5. To recap it one more time: the deep breath to start, the vocal sounds, the shake out your hands, game day warm up, and then the rinse off. And what I want to tell you, if you haven't heard it yet, is I believe in you. You are capable of being able to go in, be around family, and release stress and continue to show up and stay on track with the habits that are helping you to make burnout extinct. You're going to have people that are going to challenge you. Those are going to come up for those questions. You got to just remember that they don't have the full picture of who you are. Like, they may not be able to, like, they're not able to read your mind. And so therefore they don't have all the information. And so it's coming out of their own filters of what their meaning they put on the changes that you've made in your life. And so you get to just continue to focus on what you're doing. And what could happen is you could even inspire the people around you with your family to change their opinions and their views, but you don't have to force that on anyone. And so these body movements are there to help you to be able to regulate for yourself, to feel grounded, and then to find those ways to enjoy the time that you have with family, right? Be able to have those moments of joy too, and not just constantly be in that stress response state. You are capable of this as a human being to be able to make this happen for yourself. You got this. If you like this episode, please don't forget to leave a rating or review for this podcast and help get this message out of Make Burnout Extinct. And you can share what resonates with you from this episode by connecting with me on Instagram or LinkedIn. Thank you for taking the time to listen. I don't take that for granted ever. I'm so excited to reconnect again soon.